Greetings, fellow humans, and welcome to another Hurricane Maria update. First off, before I get into this, thank you for everyone who showed concern. I am doing much better, but that's really the minor thing to a lot of people asked. I want you to know that I'm okay. I was able to get my mom and my wife off the island to stabilize them and them being okay. Been able to talk. They've gotten like food and showers and stuff. They weren't in dire places, but they weren't having a good time, to put it lightly. Not having a good time means sleeping in an interior of the house where the average temperature is about 86 degrees while getting eaten by mosquitoes and not having much to eat and worrying if you're going to get water to drink. That said, try to imagine and to put into context, how messed up some things are. Some places that isn't that bad. I'm going to talk to you about a little bit about Puerto Rico and explain a bit more about what happened and what the situation is like right now. I stopped doing updates on Facebook and other stuff because I'm starting to see conflicting information and I'm seeing numbers that aren't making sense. And if it doesn't make sense with what I'm hearing from people, I want to give my most honest perspective. This is to explain a bit more about Puerto Rico. Okay, this is Puerto Rico. This is the island, 100 by 35. This is Vieques and this is Culebra Island. These two islands are municipalities of Puerto Rico, and they got slammed really hard. Vieques apparently got really slammed. I'm not exactly sure the extent of damage in Culebra because I haven't seen reports yet. For those who have asked, the Oaxaca Dam is around this area, but I'll show you better in the map with the municipalities so that you can understand better. The hurricane, Maria, came pretty much that route. This mountain range in the middle is pretty tall, and there are municipalities here, and the places that are most complicated right now are in the interior of the island to get to them. But we'll get to that soon. You can find this map on Google. Just Google Puerto Rico, and you have an idea of where in the island it is. And if you see any correspondent talking about one municipality, this can kind of help more to understand the challenges in terms of topography. It's really rocky. It's really uneven. Just getting from one place to another is a challenge. Here are the municipalities. It is 78. You can't see this perfect, but look for this map if you want to have an idea of what's happening in Puerto Rico. So, the report. The state of emergency continues because there is still a state of emergency. People say, "Oh, how are things in Puerto Rico?" That's really complicated to answer. I showed you this so you have an idea why it's a complicated answer. Still, state of emergency remains. The information is starting to flow, and obviously it's starting to contradict itself. That's why my updates were not as continuous as they were before. Before I had two sources that I was getting information from, and they were pretty much consistent one with each other. Now you start to see different things, and I start to get communication with people on the island, and it just makes you question a lot of what you see. Some people want to downplay the severity of the situation, but I am not one of those people because I've seen the damage. I've seen the damage to my home. We'll see what happens when the power comes back. Right now, there still isn't power on the island, most of it. But it is what it is. The Army has begun several operations since last Thursday or Friday, and from what I hear, you can feel the difference. I have good stories and bad stories. It's like with everything in life. You're going to get good stuff and bad stuff, but they are there. They're trying to stabilize the situation, and it seems like it's working. You can feel the difference in some municipalities. I say that not to put down the armed forces. I'm eternally grateful for that. But I do want to share what people say. Some people have recorded that an helicopter landed, they tossed the stuff, and then they left, and they didn't make sure that it was distributed. You know, there's a lot of people in need, and communities really have to come together right now. No one in those communities is gonna see this video or other videos calling for that. It's pretty simple. But it is what I would wish for, because if everyone's hungry and you see someone that's dropping supplies, I think the least you can do is tell your neighbor, hey, there's food. But that's just me, who, you know, I'm on the mainland. I've had stress and anxiety because I don't know and have no information, and don't know and didn't know for several days if mom or my wife were okay. With my wife, I was able to communicate. I can't say consistently, but at least once a day, somehow, even a text message. With mom, you know, it took a Category 4 hurricane to do the impossible, which is for me not to talk to mom every day. Luckily, they're both okay. Obviously shook up. Obviously, the stories and the pictures are kind of messed up. And again, you know, it's just the story that they share and the pictures. You know, you had to be there. Everyone says that the hurricane, that passed this time, sounded different, and everyone has focused a lot on it feeling different, feeling very heavy in the atmosphere. So that's something to take into account. A couple of people have asked me, you know, about people who are opposed to the military. That is a loaded question, and but there is some anti-military sentiment on the island. Part of it stems from the relationship that the U.S. has with Puerto Rico and has had since 1898. Mentalities on the island and viewpoints that are for independence. I'm not saying that's the best option or the worst option. I'm saying that there's people with that mindset. And to offer you one example of things that people were really adamant about, Vieques Island, which is this little island here, was used in military exercises for several years. And people were super against that because, oh, the outrage and whatnot, and I get it. You know, I've seen the island before the bombings and after the bombings, and I'm not exactly sure the state that it's in now. It was recovering, obviously slowly, because there's radioactive matter there from bombing. That's why there is an anti-military sentiment. For me, I for one am thankful for the aid, because I've been able to see the devastation around the island, and I see that it is catastrophic. And when you see that most bridges that were on the island are no longer there, you know that you need as many people to help as possible. You know, this isn't that one part of the island got hit or one municipality is more affected than the other. You know, the entire island got slammed, and there are places that are still not in communication, and that is insane. 2 weeks in, and I have people asking me about. Okay, I'll give you an example. People are asking me a lot about Utuado, Añasco, and Moca. Moca is here, and Aguadilla, where there's actually a naval base and where there have been planes, is right next to it, and I have not heard any news of Moca. Jauco, which is, you get lost easily. Jauco is here, is where a lot of the coffee plantations on the island are, or at least some that I know of. A friend of my family's has coffee there. They basically lost the entire crop, and all of the lands are ravaged, and it'll take years for them to grow back. You know, at least 2 years for it to start to recover, or to recover. Who knows? The island soil is resilient. And I have heard from a lot of... Okay, Rincon. Rincon is here. Rincon is here, Aguadilla is here, and Rincon is... From people on the island that I've tweeted with have stated that they're not getting any support, and they're not getting any supplies, and that's crazy. But it is what it is, and I'll give you the information as I've got it, you know, firsthand from people. But again, I am thankful for the armed forces. I do think that, you know, we need as much help as we can. And there's towns that are still underwater, you know. the pumps aren't working. Sewage is mixing with floodwaters, and bad things will most likely happen. And that's it. Although you feel in certain municipalities the presence of military aid, it's not consistent in everywhere. Or in some places, I still don't know. The U.S. naval ship Comfort has arrived on the island. I think that's actually going to help a lot of people. But rest assured and remember, it's in the metro area. A lot of people that are in need are elsewhere on the island. They will have to be airlifted or something. We'll see how that goes. The death toll. Now, people were touting that it was only 16, and suddenly it went to 34. And I'd seen reports that over 200 had been reported, but this number has stopped appearing because headlines. I know doctors on the island who paint a much grimmer story, but like the government, I haven't been able to confirm those deaths either. In Katrina, a lot of people died because they didn't get the care or means to survive, or because of infection, or because of floodwaters. And right now we're in that point. There's places that are still underwater 2 weeks into it. That's crazy. So yeah, we're now probably going to see numbers change. Dialysis patients, not all have been evacuated from the island. This is a time-sensitive situation. The advanced age population, it's not the same to be in your 20s or 30s and be enduring the heat and different and possibility of infection than to be in your 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And premature babies. These are topics that obviously it's not pleasant to talk about, but it is the situation. The power. Over 90% of the island still doesn't have power. It should get better. We keep hearing that, but obviously until things get better, it's pretty hard. The metro area, there's various places that signal is getting better and electricity is getting better, and a lot of people are bitching and getting political. And I go like, seriously, can you do something to help rather than bitch? You can bitch a month into it, but not now. That's my opinion, by the way. So when people ask me how things are in Puerto Rico, I have to make those caveats, because recovery will not be level or simultaneous. Some towns are more accessible. Areas that are near hospitals will more than likely get energy restored sooner than other places. Other areas have still not received aid, and we still haven't received news from them. Places that aren't that far off, Trujillo Alto. Trujillo Alto is here. That's near the metro area, and I know people in Trujillo Alto that aren't seeing aid. I know people in Patillas, which is on the eastern part of the island, the southeast, which is here, that feel like they've been forgotten. And for Vieques, they had collected supplies, medical supplies, and different things specifically for Vieques because they knew that they could be forgotten. And what happened? FEMA confiscated those supplies. Is this hearsay? This is what someone I know told me. Is it true or not? You decide. Bureaucracy. Why am I happy that the armed forces are there? They get things done. From what I can see, FEMA wants to try to implement the best process possible, and although well-intentioned, that can cost time, and time can cost lives in these times. Food and water. Supermarket lines are still around 2 to 4 hours in certain places. Then about 1 or 2 hours to check out, and it's not like it's a fully stocked supermarket. It's what there is. Water has returned. I believe the last figure was 60% of the island, but there's still several areas that don't have running water. Gas situation seems to have normalized in the metro area. I don't know outside of that, but I do think that it's gotten way better. So that's something, and that does help. The availability of diesel is an issue. But yeah, communication. Reception is still extremely poor. Drop calls are going to happen. Text messages aren't going to get in. The airport. They're offering more flights every day. Some airlines are canceling flights and delays and whatnot. In my case, I had my entire family flying through Delta. My wife, my mom, and my brother, his wife, and 2 kids got off the island for different reasons. Mom for health, my wife because she lives here with me, and my brother with his kids because he was worried about their safety, because it's still an issue. And on a personal note, thank you to Delta. I'm gonna tweet about it, about their experience. I had a really pleasant experience. They were really accommodating, really friendly, really kind, and at this time, that's worth gold. Someone actually asked me if there was a plane crash, and yes, there was, but in Isla Grande. It's a small cay next to Old San Juan. There's a little airport there. A small aircraft there crashed. I don't know the extent of the damage, but I do know that it crashed. The infrastructure, still no electricity. Flooding is still horrendous. The Oaxaca Dam is still touch and go. But some places are getting, kind of better. Condado, which is a tourist area, is recovering. Isla Verde, which is also a tourist area, got slammed, and I don't think they're operating. I think they're still flooded, so you have an idea. I will be as brief as possible and as objective as possible. President Trump, he didn't see the worst hit places, and my honest opinion is that he's disconnected from reality, and if ignorance was bliss, he's living in a permanent state of nirvana. I've been told if you have nothing to say, don't say anything, so I'm gonna play that as best as I can. But let's just say I'm not a fan, and I'm not gonna indulge in that, and I'm not doing this video live because I'm sure some people would have some comments in regards to that. I don't think he's done a good job. Let's put it that way. Okay. I don't think he's been the most sensitive or more empathetic. But hey, any help that we can get is welcome. And in an interview, he said that the U.S. had to wipe out the Puerto Rico debt. So I'll take that. Current risks. Curfew is still in place, but modified hours. I think now the time is from 12 to 5, midnight to 5 a.m. My recommendation, if you don't need to be on the road, don't be on the road. I still think that's the case. Crime is still high, even though there's a military presence. And some people are either desperate or don't have the best intentions. When you hear about people stealing diesel from hospitals and cell towers and cutting fiber optic wire for copper, you have an idea of what can happen. I'm not saying everyone is like this. I'm not saying it is like The Walking Dead. I'm saying bad things can and will happen, especially if you look for it. What's happening and what's being covered? This is still a crisis, but now we're dancing the political tango, and I think it's complete BS. The governor, people criticize the governor, and I think that under the circumstances, he's doing what he can. I'm not going to say he's doing awesome or bad or whatever, because people go through the political vein. He's an easy target to bash. And although I wouldn't have voted if I were on the island last November, I recognize he's trying hard to deal with mayors who want to leverage more attention to their municipalities. FEMA, which isn't always helpful, but they mean the best. The army, which is going to do whatever it has to do and go over him, and a president who tosses paper towels like basketballs to a crowd of people. I do not envy his job because he has to kiss ass, or at least feels he has to kiss ass, just to save people. Although yesterday shall leave a bad taste in the mouth of Puerto Ricans for a long time. His behavior and Jennifer Gonzalez and playing along with the PR shit show. A lot of people expected more. I'll leave it at that. And distribution of food. I have no idea what's going on, and there are conflicting versions. One of the largest and most powerful unions in Puerto Rico is the trucker union. How powerful, you ask? They've paralyzed the island on more than one occasion. I have no idea how much of the lack of distribution is down to them, down to FEMA procedures, down to roads being inaccessible, down to lack of drivers, and countless other things. It's hard to get to what is real, what's hearsay, and what's desperation 2 weeks after getting hit by a Category 4 hurricane. People have asked me about Carmen Yulín, who has received so much praise. I'll say that she can give a good interview, and I thank her for having poked the president for him to respond and keep us in the news. Anything else I hear are from people who are, deeply in the divide. People who hate her or people who adore her. I have not seen anything that's unbiased, and I'll just focus on being thankful that she was in an SNL skit, so that people respond to her message. But I don't know. To David Begnod, CBS correspondent, I think he did a hell of a job, and I wish they would send more reporters to press and cover the story like he did. That's my personal opinion, but hey, it is what it is. Our request: be kind. Avoid politicizing everything and having an opinion. People get on their social media soapbox, and there's a lot of people that need help. If you can help those people, do it, and don't feel. And if you have something to do in the community, do it. That's personal, and I get it, and I get that people have strong opinions, but there's still people that don't have water and food. We can dick around with politics later, and that's a personal opinion. I would focus on helping others as much as I can. I would focus on working in the community, cleaning up, avoiding any trapped water that could be a mosquito nest. And I would invite people to use whatever anger and frustration to do good. Keep in mind that other people are still in dire circumstances or live in communities that are not being considered. Places that are still, taking water from wherever they can get it. This isn't over by a long shot. This is just starting. And if you can help, then help. I, on the personal account, will be looking for more efforts to support smaller communities because it's not right that they get forgotten. And I'll do my best to help. And I'm still doing Humans for Puerto Rico. If you talk about Puerto Rico and want free ebooks, hit me up. If you donate over $100 and live internationally, you're eligible to win books. If you donate any amount, you're eligible to win books. Go to the link below, get all the information, and if you have any question, ask. And lastly, again, be kind, man. I'm able to sleep a bit better because I have mom and my wife here. I'm very fortunate to have that. A lot of people don't. So be considerate and help your fellow human wherever you are. So till next time, peace, love, maki rolls, and I'll try to do some more fun stuff so it doesn't feel like Sarah McLachlan coming with a dog every time a video of mine comes up. So yeah, thanks guys. And thanks for the support from everyone doing the Hurricane Maria tag. All the efforts that you're doing, it means the world that people care. Because I've seen the other side of that coin, but I'd rather focus on the good. So, thanks guys. Peace, love, and maki rolls.